So, how is AI going to change the work you do every single day? It's the question on literally everyone's mind. To find some real answers, we're going to break down a major new report from the National Academies of Sciences, Engineering, and Medicine that lays out the huge challenges and, more importantly, the choices that are right in front of us. Let's dive in. Right at its core, the report's main message is this: the future of work isn't set in stone. It's not something that's just going to happen to us. The choices we make, as a society, as companies, even as individuals, those choices are what will actively shape what comes next. This idea that we have agency is probably the single most important thing to take away. So let's keep that in mind as we go. Okay, so if our choices matter so much, what are the right choices? That's the real question, isn't it? Well, the report gives us a framework to start answering that, and we're going to walk through it together. First, we've got to understand this exact moment in time. The report is crystal clear. We are at an inflection point. The release of these powerful tools like ChatGPT back in late 2022 wasn't just another little tech update. It was a fundamental shift, and we're all feeling the ripples of it in our jobs and industries right now. To really get your head around the scale of this change, the report uses this specific term, general purpose technology. Just think about something like electricity or the internet. They weren't just tools for one single task. They were foundational innovations that completely rewired entire economies. And according to this report, that's the level of transformation we should be expecting from AI. It's huge. Now, what's so interesting about this timeline is how it shows you that inflection point. AI development was this long, slow burn for decades. Steady, but slow. Then, with the rise of these large language models, the curve just went almost vertical. And that big question mark for the future? Well, that's exactly what we're all trying to navigate. This incredible pace we're seeing is really being fueled by a kind of perfect storm. You've got massive, and I mean massive, investment pouring in from both companies and governments. You've got this almost infinite torrent of data to train these models on. And you have this intense race to apply AI to absolutely everything, a race that's being run by both commercial giants and the open source community. So, with all this tech, what does it actually mean for the economy? Well, this brings us to what the report frames as the productivity paradox. It sounds complicated, but it's really a huge opportunity that comes with a very serious hidden challenge. Let's start with the opportunity, the good news. Recently, productivity growth in the U.S. has been chugging along at about 1.4% a year. Some estimates suggest AI could push that over 3%, more than doubling it. Now, that might sound kind of abstract, but higher productivity is the engine that drives higher living standards for everybody. It's a massive prize to be aiming for. And here's the hidden challenge. A bigger economic pie doesn't automatically mean everyone gets a bigger slice. So the central question the report really wrestles with is this: how are these huge productivity gains going to be distributed across society? This image here of a fork in the road, it really captures the two paths ahead of us perfectly. One path leads to widespread prosperity, where pretty much everyone benefits. But the other path, if we don't make the right choices, leads to a future where the gains flow only to a select few, which would just increase inequality. The crucial point here is that neither of these outcomes is guaranteed. It's up to us. Okay, so how does all this economic stuff impact you, me, the workers directly? Well, the report centers this whole discussion on what it calls the expert equation, which is just a way of talking about the changing value of our human skills in an age of AI. First, let's just be really clear on what we mean by expertise. The report defines it super simply. It's a specific skill you need to get something done. It can be physical, like knowing how to bake bread, or cognitive, like being able to write code. This, right here, this is the currency of the labor market. And here is the core of that equation. On the one hand, AI is going to automate tasks and erode the value of some skills we have right now. Think about how software changed tax preparation. But on the other hand, it's creating entirely new jobs that demand completely new kinds of expertise. This push and pull, that's the central dynamic for all of us in the workforce. And look, this whole dynamic, it isn't new. To put it in perspective, researchers estimate that over 60% of people today are working in job categories that didn't even exist back in 1940. Technology has always created new kinds of work. The real question today is about the incredible speed and scale of this transition. So the report explores three potential scenarios for where this all goes. The first, and honestly the most plausible one in the near term, is what they call occupational polarization. This is the idea that routine, middle-skilled jobs are the most likely to get automated, kind of hollowing out the middle of the job market. A second, more extreme scenario where AI just flat out outcompetes all humans, well, that's considered pretty unlikely for now. And finally, there's this more speculative but hopeful possibility, the creation of entirely new kinds of mass expertise that we can't even imagine yet. So, if the value of our skills is shifting so quickly, how can any of us possibly keep up? The report points to one primary tool for navigating this massive change: education and lifelong learning. What's really fascinating here is that AI is actually playing a role on both sides of this education equation. It's the force that's creating the demand for new skills in the first place, but it also offers these powerful new tools to supply that education, things like personalized adaptive learning platforms. It's kind of the problem and part of the solution, all at once. So the crucial point is this. The old model of, learning one set of skills and having a career for 40 years, that's just over. As this quote hammers home, continuous adaptation through ongoing education isn't just a good idea anymore. It's going to be absolutely essential for economic survival and success. And this brings us right back to where we started. We have the tools to navigate this transition, but it's going to require intentional choices from policymakers, educators, and business leaders to build a future that is both prosperous and fair for everyone. So let's just quickly summarize the key takeaways. First, and this is the big one, the future isn't fixed. Our choices in policy and business matter immensely. Second, the core challenge for workers is that expertise equation, that super fast shift in what skills are valuable. Third, we desperately need better data to actually see these changes as they're happening so we can react intelligently. And finally, the main tool for navigating all of this is a real commitment to continuous education and lifelong learning. And I want to hang on this point about data for just a second. The report makes a really powerful argument that to make wise choices, we need to be able to see the changes as they happen. We need better, faster, more integrated data from both the government and private companies to understand AI's real-time impact. It's simple, right? We just can't fix what we can't see. And that leaves us with this final critical question. The technology is moving at an exponential rate. The real test is going to be whether our institutions, our schools, and our policymaking can evolve quickly enough to steer this incredible technology toward a future that really does benefit everyone.